Where should they get the money from if it's not from farmers?
From farmers. You hear that, everyone?
With
BBC
assets.
thinks you should be paying for everything.
3% of farms last year would not pay any inheritance tax at all, even after our changes.
I beg of the government to be big, to accept that this was rushed through, it wasn't thought out.
I haven't got a farm to pass down, but I have got a business that I've grown since I was 16 years old. So to pass that on to my child now, I'm going to get taxed on that. And actually, can he afford?
Jeremy Clarkson just issued a dire warning to Keir Starmer on live television that could signal a growing rural rebellion. His transformation from Top Gear presenter to farming advocate has given him a unique platform to challenge the government's controversial 20% inheritance tax on family farms.
Who here, can I just ask, who here is going to be unaffected by these changes? No one.
With 70% of British farms now potentially facing financial ruin, Clarkson's warning to calm down the rhetoric isn't just celebrity posturing, it's the voice of rural Britain preparing for a historic November 19th showdown in Westminster. The question is, will Starmer listen before it's too late? The man who once judged cars by how fast they could distort his face has transformed into British farming's most unlikely defender.
Who's been interesting this morning? He's a very wise man, Jeremy Clarkson. Well, Jeremy Clarkson has said, I'm surrounded by farmers and plasterers.
Jeremy Clarkson, infamous for his petrol-soaked career on Top Gear, has undergone a remarkable metamorphosis that few could have predicted. When he purchased Diddley Squat Farm in 2008, many dismissed it as just another celebrity indulgence, a plaything for a wealthy TV personality with too much time on his hands. But what began as a side project has evolved into something far more significant. Clarkson's farm wasn't just compelling television, it was a documentary of genuine struggle. The series captured Clarkson's authentic bewilderment as he encountered Byzantine agricultural regulations, unpredictable weather, and the harsh economic realities of modern farming. The same bombastic personality that once mocked eco-warriors and small cars now found itself railing against agricultural policies and governmental neglect of rural communities.
It's not the fact that I bought a farm to avoid inheritance tax. The fact.
What makes Clarkson particularly effective as farming's unexpected champion is that he experienced the difficulties firsthand. Unlike politicians who speak about agriculture from London offices, Clarkson has literally sunk his boots in the mud. He's lost crops to drought, battled with planning permissions for his farm shop, and witnessed how EU subsidies and regulations impact daily operations. This hands-on experience transformed theoretical political concepts into visceral personal frustrations. The turning point came when Clarkson realised that Westminster's policies often seemed designed by people who had never seen a working farm. His frustration wasn't manufactured for ratings. It emerged organically as he tried to navigate the labyrinthine world of agricultural administration while actually trying to grow food. What began as entertainment unexpectedly positioned him as an authentic voice for a community that often feels voiceless in national politics.
One day, all this will be Rachel Reeves. What, the curtains? Yep, she'll have those as well.
Clarkson's massive platform, built over decades of television success, gives him something most farmers lack, a megaphone to the nation. His 7.6 million Twitter followers and international audience through Amazon Prime provide him influence that agricultural unions and lobbying groups can only dream of. When Clarkson speaks about farming issues, millions listen, including those who would never normally engage with agricultural policy debates. This evolution has positioned Clarkson as a uniquely troublesome adversary for Starmer's government. He combines the media savvy of a veteran presenter with the authentic grievances of Britain's farming community. Politicians well versed in deflecting questions from journalists find themselves unprepared for Clarkson's blend of caustic wit and first-hand agricultural knowledge. That agricultural knowledge has never been more crucial than now, as Starmer's government unleashes what farmers are calling an existential threat to their way of life.
I beg of the government to be big, to accept that this was rushed through, it wasn't thought out.
When Clarkson warns of serious trouble coming for the government, he's not making empty threats. He's highlighting the powder keg created when you tax farming families out of existence after promising to protect them. Rachel Reeves' inheritance tax policy is far more than a minor budget tweak. It's a potential death sentence for British family farming. The specifics are devastating. A 20% tax on farms valued over £1 million when passed to the next generation. To urban voters, that might sound like targeting the wealthy, but in farming terms, that threshold is laughable. laughably low.
Own a farm or land, you have an additional £1 million inheritance tax than anyone else.
A modest farm with a few hundred acres, some weathered equipment, and a farmhouse easily exceeds that value on paper, despite generating barely enough income to keep the operation afloat year to year. What Westminster bureaucrats fail to grasp is that farms aren't luxury assets. They're working businesses requiring constant reinvestment, with most of their value locked in land and equipment that generate modest returns.
So would you invite Keir to your pub, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister?
No, he's banned. He's the first person to be banned. He's actually on a board in the...
These aren't cash-rich enterprises that can simply write a cheque for 20% of their value when the farmer dies. For most families, the only option would be selling land or the entire operation, destroying livelihoods that have sustained rural communities for centuries.
3% of farms last year would not pay any inheritance tax at all, even after our changes.
The impact is staggering. Approximately 70% of British farms could face this crushing burden. Operations that have weathered world wars, economic depressions, and countless agricultural crises, only to be undone by a Labour budget. The cultural devastation would match the economic one, with centuries of agricultural knowledge and tradition vanishing overnight. Caleb Cooper, Clarkson's farming partner, captured what's truly at stake when he observed that farming is the most important job in the world because it doesn't matter what car you have or what phone you've got in your pocket. What matters is what's coming across your plate breakfast, lunch and dinner.
I haven't got a farm to pass down, but I have got a business that I've grown since I was 16 years old. So to pass that on to my child now, I'm going to get taxed on that. And actually, can he afford?
This isn't about protecting wealthy landowners, it's about safeguarding national food security. The betrayal cuts especially deep for rural voters who believed Labour's campaign promises. Starmer's government pledged to stand up for British agriculture, only to introduce policies that would decimate it.
The former Top Gear presenter helped organise the mass agricultural protest in London on Tuesday.
Where should they get the money from if it's not from farmers?
From farmers. You hear that, everyone?
With
BBC
assets.
thinks you should be paying for everything.
This broken promise has catalysed an unprecedented movement, culminating in the November 19th protest at Westminster, a rare show of unified resistance from a community typically too busy working the land to march in the streets. When Jeremy Clarkson stood in front of that camera and delivered his warning, it wasn't mere entertainment. What we witnessed was the crystallisation of a growing rural rebellion.
And he says, I therefore suggest that both he and his friends at the BBC calm down the rhetoric or we could be heading for some serious trouble. And he's absolutely right.
Farmers aren't just angry about inheritance tax, they're fighting for their very existence in a country that seems to have forgotten where its food comes from. The Westminster protest represents something far more profound than a single policy dispute. It's the physical manifestation of the widening chasm between Britain's agricultural heartlands and the urban corridors of power. For too long, farming communities have absorbed blow after blow from successive governments, but this time feels different. Clarkson's intervention matters precisely because he bridges these two worlds. He understands both the media landscape and the mud-caked reality of British farming. If Starmer chooses to dismiss these warnings as just another celebrity tantrum, he risks igniting a conflict that could define his premiership. The government now faces a critical choice: meaningful dialogue or doubling down on policies that threaten to tear at the very fabric of rural Britain. The clock is ticking and the fields are watching.